talk about I think the biggest like someone that had great potential. I feel like, but they had quite a large downfall, and he wasn't a very well-known fighter either. But I think William Knight. You can look him up if you want. He's not a very well-known fighter. I will say that, but he was a fighter that I really liked just because of his build. He was like a bodybuilder, but well, he is a bodybuilder. You can check him out on Instagram at I think it's SSJ_nightmare. He is a bodybuilder and he's a mixed martial artist, and he was doing pretty good in UFC. He was like, I feel like he was winning. He was doing good, and then he got like knocked out. By what's that guy's name? Oh, he's like a tan guy. He's God, I can't think of the guy's name right now. But he got Devin Clark. He got knocked out by Devin Clark, and that was a brutal knockout. It was a hook in the clinch. He didn't even see it coming, and it was a pretty rough knockout. And since then his career really started going downhill. Now he's in he's on a fighting promotion. He lost a championship fight. I don't think he's even doing the best in his grappling bouts, and he's really heading downhill. But he had such great potential because of his size. Like if you saw him in some of his earlier UFC fights, like he's a big dude. He's a big dude. Like when he got those people, he had the signature thing he liked to do when he was up against the cage. He would like to like bend the other person like over and get them really good. This good standing guillotine, and those people would be like, how the hell do I get out of this guy's huge? Like, if you saw William Knight's muscles, his muscles were like the size of a damn tire. I'm telling you, like his arms were big, and he would get those people in those like standing guillotines, and it would just be like, what the hell do you even do? Like you gotta use like your fight IQ to get out of this thing, There is no just like, basic bitch, just like, alright, let's slide out of this. I think when they got trapped in that, they really had to think about, okay, what's the next move here? And he was really good with that. He was a good grappler, good kicker. He was, up against Devin Clark, he even threw a flying knee and I kind of clocked him a bit, to strike that. And if that, I'm calling it now, if that person, like, it was kind of a Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira type of thing. Like, William Knight completely obliterated Devin Clark in the first round. But then in the second round, he just got knocked out. And it's a real shame. It's a real shame, Because as Chael Sonnen likes to say, one of my favorite fighters as well. Not even because of, his just persona in the press conferences, but because he's a really good knowledge about the MMA community and mixed martial arts in general. He has really good knowledge on that. But like fighting is a big, like it's a psychological battle, and I said that even before watching Chael Sonnen, and really getting familiar with him. Like fighting is it's psychological warfare, and even fighters mention it. Chael Sonnen has particularly mentioned it regarding his own fight with John Jones, and even the Rodriguez Duplessis and Sean. It's psychological warfare. Actually, let's bring up another example. Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz, in that interview where Nate Diaz said the N-word, he particularly said, he gets inside of his opponent's head. I'm pretty sure, if I may be misrecalling, I just watched the interview, I think yesterday, or 2 days ago, and I'm pretty sure Nate Diaz mentioned that. It is psychological warfare. You have to make your opponents scared. So their fight IQ isn't at their highest, and they're not all there, It's a very big thing in fighting, and it's something that's very important for a lot of fighters. And like fighters like John Jones, he almost entirely lost the fight because he was scared of Rampage Jackson. He was having nightmares of him getting knocked out in the first round. John Jones, look at John Jones, look at that beast, and he was scared. And no hate to John Jones. I'm scared of John Jones. That guy will mess me up in 2 seconds, But the point is that psychological warfare, it's a huge thing in fighting, and I think after William Knight got knocked out by Devin Clark, his entire perception on fighting had changed, And he wasn't himself in his other bouts, He he wasn't him. He blatantly just wasn't him. And it sucks. I think really that was his downfall. You know, and you can see that in the, like, really pay attention to a lot of, like, of the amateur UFC fighters. Or, like, I shouldn't say amateur, but the newer UFC fighters. You can really see that, like you can see their psychological changes throughout the fights when they're getting rocked, when they're getting hit, you know. And, you know, as a boxer myself, I can sit here and say is the more you get in your head, the faster you know. I have had the grand blessing of never being hit in any of my matches. You know, I've been in 6 matches so far, and I've had the grand blessing of not being hit in any of them. I don't know if that says anything about me personally, or if that just says anything about my opponents. I'm not really sure. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about William Knight and how I feel like he had such potential, and maybe not championship potential. Maybe. I don't know. I don't feel like we really got a chance to see his potential. But he was a significant foe, especially if you look at his actual amateur bouts and his pre-UFC bouts. You know, he was a force to be reckoned with, and he went from a complete savage to from being feared to fearing, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, he's not really an easy fighter to talk about. He had such a brief moment in UFC, he really did. You know, he's not the man to take a lot of fights. You know, and he won a good amount by decision, if I do recall. You know, but he was definitely a force to be reckoned with, and he had potential. And I feel like it's a shame that it all kind of goes away. I'm hoping eventually he can make a return to UFC. You know, maybe he'll repair himself mentally, and maybe even gain some better wrestling and to improve himself. Because like, there's always room for you. I don't care if you're Don Fry, Dan Severn, John Jones, or GSP or Khabib. There's always room to improve. There's no such thing as perfection, especially in MMA, which is a constantly changing sport. There's no perfection in that matter. Because think about it, you know, that's a whole other conversation too, might I add. You know, you can talk about Bisping, you know, talking about like how people would be punching his thigh and stuff like that, and like intentionally like, you know, punching his thigh, kicking his arm, stuff like that, and just being weird, you know. And eventually that was like that, and then eventually it evolved into leg kicks, calf kicks, you know, full 9. And that's really the point where I'm trying to get at. In a constantly changing sport, you gotta adapt to the sport. Otherwise, yeah, you gotta keep up. You really do. You gotta keep up with the sport to survive the sport. I think that's a pretty prominent point in MMA. I